It's time for another Dice Tower review with the Chief, Bart Brunchine.
Hey, it's the Chief from the Dice Tower, and I'm joined by Judd Vance and Greg Schmickens, also known as HAMTAG.
Tag Ham!
Today, we're going to be talking about games that we anticipate in 2015, and we'll do a brief wrap-up on what happened in 2014. And it's been a while since we've been together, so apparently...
We're ready.
Yeah, guys didn't know where to sit when we started off that. All right, so we're going to be doing our 2000 most anticipated, but we figured we'd do a brief recap so you can see kind of what happened in 2014, and mine will be easy. None of my 5 that I wanted or anticipated coming out in 2014 happened, so I'm not going to put them on my list. And I know some of you guys are different, but just for me, a brief recap for 2014 was, number 1 was Conflict of Heroes Guadalcanal, didn't happen yet. Come on, Mr. Eichert. Seafall, still kind of going through playtesting. First Men In, goodness knows when that'll come out. Bloody Crossroads also on hold, and then the Hunters German U-Boats is waiting on a second reprint, so I guess it was out but I missed it. You guys, how about you?
Okay, one of the ones on my anticipated games was Race to the Rhine, 1944 Race to the Rhine. It did come out. I played it multiple times. Did not meet my expectations. It felt a little bit more like a puzzle than it did like a game. It was, once you get your supply line in place, if you figure out the right places, there's nothing that can stop it. You just keep moving forward. And then it kind of compromised itself. The stated goals are to get across the Rhine, but if you don't do that, then it's victory points that happen way behind the line. So it didn't meet my expectations. And the second one that I had on my list last year was Fire in the Lake, the counterinsurgency game by Volko Ruhnke and Mark Herman, and that exceeded my expectations because I was concerned about different types of unit capabilities and things, that it would be a little too much for the system to handle. I was wrong. The system can handle it. My concerns, I realize now, are just that I would have trouble teaching the game when you've got irregulars and cops and troops and bases and all those things on the same side. But the game is better than I thought it would be. So those are the 2 that dropped off of my list.
The only one of my 5 was Fire in the Lake. Bart and I shot a review on it, so you want to know all my thoughts on it?
It'll be out soon.
Yes. Might be out by the time this one comes out.
Might be out by the time you're watching this.
The Band of Brothers expansion, I don't know why they've been dragging their feet on it. Texas Era was supposed to come out first, so I don't even know if we're going to see it this year. I'll talk about the Holdfast in a little bit. And the Festoon Europa, I talked to Michael Ranella, and he sent it off to the publishers. I did some play testing. Right after we did the video, he wrote me and asked if I wanted to do some play testing on one of the cards because he had thoroughly tested the Sicily strategy, so he wanted to look at the possibility of being the roundup strategy, the possibility that was out there. So I play tested it for a while and worked with we played with other people, so we worked that out pretty well, had some ideas. So he got all that and then sent it off to the play testers. So it should be out probably by the middle of this year.
All right, do we want to start? Well, why don't we start with Greg for 2015?
Okay, so my number 5 anticipated game for this year is Enemy Action Ardennes. It's a card-driven, hex-based game, so in that it's similar to Empire of the Sun, which, just based on the definition I've heard, and I'm interested to see that system work again. One of the features of this game is that it's 3 games, 3 different maps, one for a 2-player map, one if you're solo allies, one if you're solo German. And so I'm looking forward to see this generation of card-driven, hex-based game.
Is that John Butterfield?
John Butterfield and John Foley.
Okay,
I
hadn't heard of that.
Butterfield, I had not heard of that. My number 5 now, again, these aren't all war games for me, so just so you know, Tesla versus Edison from Conquistador Games. Real nice It's kind of got a route building aspect to it, a little bit of worker placement, and of course it's just the whole electricity deal and innovation. And it just looks really, it looks kind of interesting to me, and I like what Conquistador has been doing, and it's in their style that they've been putting out. So that's my number 5.
You know, when I talked about what music captures the theme of your game, I figured that one would be Back in Black, because AC/DC.
That would be good.
Little geek humor there. Okay, my number 5 is Operation Dauntless, coming out by GMT this year, designed by Mark Mazicki. He designed Red Winter, Finland's versus Russia. Really, the reason I don't know much about this, I did do a little checking on it. It's the British 49th Infantry Division, known as the Polar Bears. Outside of Caen, they're trying to take Fortney and Rari. What I do know is Red Winter kind of come on the scene, and the topic wasn't really a lot of interest to me. And I kept hearing people say this thing was great, and it got on my radar. And then when I got it, it's really a good game. He came up with a slick system, and he wrote probably the best rule book and playbook I've ever seen for such a game. I mean, it is so easy to reference. It's easy to learn. The playbook's just phenomenal. The price of the game's worth that. I mean, it's worth it just for the playbook. Just about. There's so much research he put into it. So I'm really anxious. That's his first design, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does, because I think this guy's a really hot designer to keep my eye on. How I usually pick a lot of my games, I follow a designer. So that's Operation Dauntless, GMT, my number 5.
Okay. My number 4 is one that I know Judd has mentioned a lot. I'm really looking forward now to Hands in the Sea. I haven't played it yet, but I've read up on it, listened to what Judd said, saw the play test played down at BGG-Con in Dallas back in November, and I'm looking forward to that. It does look like, you know, it's a lot of the mechanics are seem similar to Hannibal, We the People, you know, that you're trying to place the troops to control the areas, but I'm looking forward to see what it does different and how it handles, because it did look like there was an awful lot of interaction between the players. So my number 4 that I'm looking forward to this year is Hands in the Sea.
And who's the publisher again that's putting?
Nightworks LLC.
Okay. So
That's KNIGHT.
Excellent. My number 4 is Huey Leader from Dan Verzen Games, DVG. It's in the Phantom Leader solitaire kind of system. Really intrigued by this. I have Phantom Leader. You're basically tricking out your in this case helicopters to fit certain mission parameters. So there's going to be, I would imagine, well, I don't know, I'm hoping you got Cobras in there. You're going to be doing everything from relief and pickup and extraction and medevac and suppression. So I'm hoping that's all in there, but very interested because I like that system. I like how it's moving into Huey's. And
I haven't heard much about that. You know, it'll be interesting because I've had Apache Hornet Leader, so it'll be different. It'll be interesting to see what other, like you said, other missions Huey Leader brings into it.
Yeah, that's what's got me intrigued. You know, it didn't even cross my mind with Phantom Leader. I thought, wow, what else would this work for? And I couldn't imagine how, but it crossed my mind with helicopters in Vietnam rather than just Apache. So,
right.
Really looking at that from DVG, the whole Phantom Leader system.
I have Hornet and Phantom, and I had heard so much good things when we did the solitaire from people saying Apache. So I thought, wow, because I've heard lots that maybe this thing's worth looking into. But the Huey one actually interests me a whole lot more.
Yeah, there might be another one that'll be on my list later. It's kind of like it too.
Okay. My number 4, I do not know much about this game. I learned about it 3 days ago. It's called Time of Crisis. It's going to be put out by GMT. It is designed by Ray Farrell and Brad Johnson. One of them did Sword of Rome. It's a game that's always interested me, but I've never got to play. It come up, somebody had a discussion about, should I get Hands of the Sea or this? Well, really about all they have in common is they both have cards and they involve Romans. They're 500 years apart. This isn't even a deck builder. It's not following the Few Acres of Snow system or anything like that. So it sounds like a mashup of various games systems borrowed from ideas, but I hadn't played any of those games. Just the theme interests me, and what little I saw of it, I said, wow, this kind of looks interesting. So just put it on my radar. Sorry, I can't tell you much about it. Go out to BGG and do your research. He's done videos on playthroughs and things like that, but it seems to have a lot of good pub coming from people who have looked at it. So that's my number 4, Time of Crisis by GMT.
Okay. My number 3 is the digital version of Twilight Struggle. This was on my list when we did it in 2014. It is still on my wish list. From what I've read, the development is continuing. We get some, who's it, Playdeck?
Yes.
Is doing the development, and we keep getting some emails that it's progressing. I'm looking forward to see how it handles the 2-player electronic. I do a lot of online stuff. I'm a cyberboard ACTS person, but it'll be interesting to see how this handles all of that. And of course, I really enjoy the game. There's talk next year down at BGG-Con about having some kind of organized sessions for Twilight Struggle, since it is the #1 game on Board Game Geek. So I'm interested to see it evolve to this next step. So my number 3 is the digital version of Twilight Struggle.
I like that. Playdeck is phenomenal. When I saw that they were the ones married to them for the digital version, high hopes. It's still a hard thing to pull off, but they usually do a phenomenal job. So yeah, still
Good.
Very excited for that. My number 3, if Judd even knew about it, I think he'd have it on his list. And this I found while doing a search because I wanted something, it just really jumped out at me. And Judd, just the title, A World of Dinosaurs.
Pow!
Judd
Tell
loves
me more.
anything with dinosaurs. Now here's the danger. It's self-published. It's a Kickstarter deal. And it's got some funky, weird things. But that's what I like about it. First of all, you got 2 boards. And you're doing 2 things. On one board, you're playing a paleontologist in the early 1900s. Excuse me. And in the other board, you are dinosaurs, and there's this weird funky thing that I don't quite understand where you're dinosaurs and you're trying to actually move them into areas that are going to work for your paleontologist who's doing an area control on the other board.
So if you push your monsters into the tar pit, then your paleontologist can find the tar pit.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it says you're defending the land against opposing teams. There's a little bit of expand and explore, so maybe just a 2.
I think that sounds like a war game to me.
Yeah. And then on the paleontologist side, you can apparently, as you're going around, you can either build an actual correct T-Rex somehow with the tiles you get, and you'll get more money for that. Or if you're in a hurry, you can put a hodgepodge together, which actually did occur where folks thought, yeah, this is the dinosaur. And then as people actually learned how the dinosaurs went together, like, that's a bunch of different dinosaurs into one thing. So in the game, you can do that if you need quick points, or you can actually work toward getting the full complete dinosaur to sell toward the museum. So this I saw, I thought, well, I don't know if they'll pull off the 2 boards. That sounds like a lot of stuff going on, but it's got dinosaurs in it, and I think I'm getting infected by Judd.
Dinosaurs make everything better. I'll tell you, if that was actually possible, I'd have all the dinosaurs in my backyard. It's like I find them today.
Sure, I'm going to reach out to these guys and just see if I can learn some more, because this is just all that I can glean, but it's definitely on my radar, and it made number 3 just from the odd uniqueness.
Okay, my number 3 is Aishima Last Battle. That's IE space SHIMA. That's how that's spelled. It is going to be co-produced by Take Aim Designs and Revolution Games. You'll be able to buy it from the Revolution Games website. It is designed by Michael Reinella, who did Operation Battle Axe. Same system. Those 2 companies co-published that. It should be out here within the next couple of months. It is covering the last island that they took in the Pacific Theater World War II, even after Okinawa. It is Area Impulse. I have never seen an Area Impulse on the Pacific. That's really cool. It uses the Breakout Normandy operational level system instead of map with city blocks, and you can activate everybody on the map like you do in the Storm Over games. This uses the Sunset die roll, where if we're on Impulse 6, we roll the dice if it's less than 6 turn-ins. You check every other impulse. You can't fire at adjacent spaces because you're too far away. This is a much bigger scale. Instead of city blocks on your map, Stalingrad would be like a dot if you're comparing it to that. Just a dot in a space. So it's much bigger scale. Uses the train effects. You assault into the area. If you've played Breakout Normandy, or any of the games, Michael Ranella took that system because he's like a WBC champ at that game. You can tell it heavily influences designs. Monty's Gamble, Not War But Murder, Operation Battle Axe. You recognize the system. He takes that system and then he puts his tweaks into it to fit within each battle. When this came out, he wrote me about making a Vassal playtest module for the playtester, so I did. I've seen it. Artwork looked really good because he's a really good artist already, but he's got Charles Keebler doing the final art on this. So I haven't seen that. I have seen the rules, the original ones. I think he's made tweaks to it. Very impressed. Can't wait. Love the system. Got lots and lots of Area Impulse games. He's pretty much the champion of the system, Area Impulse in general. So they got the right guy doing this. If you're familiar with it, I would blank on his name now. The famous cartoonist from World War II.
Bill Malden?
No. He died at that battle. Anyways, he's factored into the game. He died at the battle and was very popular with the troops. That's actually factored into it. I'll probably think about 2 or 3 games from now.
You sure it wasn't just a reporter, not the cartoonist?
Might have been a reporter.
Yeah, because I know exactly who you're talking about. I'm blanking on it as well.
Ernie Pyle?
Yes.
Ernie Pyle, thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, he's factored into the game too. And so, anyways, that's my number 3, Aishima Last Battle.
And WBC is the World Board Gaming Championships, just for those that don't know.
Which happens in August. This year it'll be in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and then they're moving to a ski resort outside of Pittsburgh in 2016.
And I was hoping they'd move to Dallas.
Yeah, away from the Amish and into the snow.
Okay, my number 2 game is still Churchill by GMT. It's a 3-player co-opetition game where you are Roosevelt, Churchill, Stalin, trying to prosecute the war and get ready for the post-war environment. I got to play it, playtest version of it several times. I'm down at the BGG Con in November. I also played a couple games online, providing some input back to Mark. There's some little tweaks going on to the rules, so it's getting closer. I am a little concerned about there's a little too much brinksmanship in this game because it is what I noticed in several of the plays, because I played some and observed some, is for the person who goes first says, I'm doing this and I don't care what you do. You have to take this action or we're going to lose the war. And you know, the alternative to that is to say, well, okay, we'll lose the war. But you don't necessarily want to do that after everybody has spent hours playing a game. But, you know, do that once or twice and it might change the behavior to not make it so, you know, I'm going to be totally selfish. So that part, I will say, concerned me a little bit, but I'm still looking forward to it. It's still on my pre-order list. Churchill by GMT.
Yeah, I love the idea that while the war is going on and they know they're going to win it, it's just a matter of time.
But they might not.
Well, I know, but I like the idea of the gameplay, because in the real world, the meeting, like you said, was to wrap up like what fronts, and then how are we going to divvy this up? Because it was, I mean, short of something crazy, it was kind of a foregone conclusion in the real world. So,
okay,
from my perspective, maybe.
But well, and the whole thing is timing.
Sure.
Whether you can win the war quickly enough.
Right.
Because they would end up winning the war, but to win the war in the game, you have to do it in the same time frame.
I've read a little bit even on, some people think politically in Japan, the reason we dropped the bomb was because they wanted to make sure Russia didn't get down.
Right.
And so that was a distant maneuver, not just the war. But all right, my number 2 is Tiger Leader, also from DVG, Dan Burzen Games. So he's got the same systems coming out of the air and down to a Tiger. So you're doing I imagine you're tricking it out, you're figuring out what kind of ammo you're loading in there, the missions you're going on, and I've talked about Patton's Best before, which is with a Sherman, and it's a solo game, and way back then, Shermans were mobile, but they were so, easy to knock out. I always thought that game should have been with a Tiger. You know, the Tiger can go out and move if he needs to, or he can just sit there and pick off what's coming his way. I do know Patton's Best, really, the movement was the key, as you're moving past 88s and stuff. But so Tiger Leader, very interested in both the Huey and the Tiger, same kind of system. Very interesting to see it coming down on the ground.
Okay, my number 2. Last year I had mentioned in my top 5 Holdfast Bulge by Worthington Games, based on the Holdfast Russia system. That game doesn't appear to be happening now. That was a mention that they said in December it would happen. I think we filmed in June or something. They've changed it. It's going to be Holdfast Korea, and the Kickstarter is supposed to start later this month, January. That I was like, oh my goodness, must have that. There are not enough Korean War games out there. I have the Victory Games Classic, but it's not one you're going to set up and play in a couple hours. It's a beast.
So as a Kickstarter, it means you'll get it in 2017?
Worthington's actually been really good on their Kickstarters. 1776 it took like 2 months, so they've been really good about that. But I mean, the idea is really cool. I mean, I think you're getting pushed on the I don't know if it's Pusan Peninsula, back up, Chinese coming in. She's got this back and forth.
Okay, so it's the whole down,
from what I
back,
hear,
and
it is.
Okay,
so so yeah, that is that's cool. And there's just not enough representation. I've never seen a block game on it. Haven't seen simple games on it even. So, anyways, the Holdfast takes 5 minutes to teach. They put little PowerPoints on how to teach it in 5 minutes, how to learn in 5 minutes, and it's really true. It like boils the essence down to its bare minimum. Like Marco Arnaudo said, if they pull one more thing out, it's no longer, in the first case, an East Front game, but they put just enough chrome in there that you got the really cool stuff. So I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with this one and how they're going to pull in shot off and things like that. Like I said, there's just not enough representation. So I'm way more anxious about a Korea than a Bulge game. So that's my number 2, Holdfast Korea, designed by Mike and Grant Wiley, I'm going to guess.
And my number 1 game is a carryover from 2015, and actually it's a game that got us into a conversation of what's a valid topic for gaming, because my number 1 anticipated game is Free at Last, which is a game coming out by Jolly Roger, designed by Ted Torgerson, the guy that did 1989 among other games. And it's on the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s, where one of you is trying to promote civil rights and the other person, it's a 2-player game, is trying to delay civil rights. And it's card driven, so you've got the personalities who were involved in the civil rights in the 50s and 60s. Haven't heard much about it. I sent, anticipating this video, I sent a message to Ted Torgerson. He said he's still trying to work it. He's sorry it hasn't come up sooner, and he's trying to get some more information about how it's progressing. But that is still way on my radar. I'm interested to learn more about that period in history. So Free at Last by Jolly Roger's game, my number 1 anticipated game.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't die.
Right.
So, I mean, because that's
right.
To even push the envelope of that era with that type of game is good. Now, maybe we don't want to get into age, but how old were you in that time? I mean, do you remember all the tensions and things? I would imagine.
Yeah, I remember the Watts riots and things like that. So I was born in 52, so 64 was a lot of stuff. That's when, Muhammad Ali, or Cassius Clay changed to Muhammad Ali. That was one of a lot of the things. And then 67, 68, so I was 15, 16. So I was aware of what was going on. But a lot of the earlier things that started it, I was not.
Right. Very interesting. My number 1. Last year, I had a lot of Conflict of Heroes stuff on there that hasn't come to fruition. That, unfortunately, tends to happen on occasion with Academy games. But I've been told by the man himself, Mr. Eichert, that the Conflict of Heroes Awakening the Bear solo version will be out this year. So it's been delayed, and they had a Butterfield system that came from D-Day Tarawa, and they scrapped that, and then they had a replay test. Yeah, that's all gone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
His son had come up with a version that they really liked. They thought was very innovative and challenging, but then they had to restart playtest all over and everything. So I'm hoping. I've been told it's been sent to the printers, so this one should come out. And then I've been told once that comes out, Guadalcanal is all ready to go, and it'll come out. That was last year. But that all depended also on Thief, the game you brought over from Europe.
Okay, Awakening the Bear, refresh my memory, the period.
It's literally 1941 pushing into Barbarossa.
Got it.
And the early part of the Russian campaign before Kursk.
Okay.
My number one, still Hands in the Sea. I've talked plenty about it, so go read my reviews, go look at the other videos, you want any details. What's been really neat is that he already had what I considered my all-time number 3 game, and when it's up there with Mark Herman games, it tells you how much I like it.
Oh boy, it does.
Yeah. What's been really cool was he came up with an idea a few months ago. If you're familiar with A Few Acres, just know some of the cards have swords, some of them have ships. You can use them in battles. He stripped a lot of the swords out. What that did was made the few ones in there that much more valuable. There were a few cards like, yeah, this is a deck clogger, I need to get rid of this thing. So a few of them are kind of auto moves. Yeah, I need to. Now there's no auto moves, I got to get rid of this. I mean, there's very few of these really obvious things. It's like, dang, I need that card, especially in the early going before you start getting your military. He also pulled Colonist off, which will help you end up getting money and ships and other things. So so you struggle more with the balance of money and what you're getting. Every card's more valuable, and it's something I call the Hands of Glory syndrome. It's just something I call it. It means I don't have enough cards to do what I want. It's not unique to that game. It's just the one I suffer the most in. And it's like, I want everything, and this is all I can do. I want every card. If I do, it'll clog my deck. It's a great way to suffer.
So I'm a little nervous about it because I really handled you in Few Acres.
Yeah, in the early days.
Yeah, now he's like play testing this thing. So when I go to play, he's going to be like, I'm doing that on you now.
Well, I'll tell you, Dan and I played all the time Vassal, because I made the Vassal module for it. We didn't play the BGG. He trounced me. It's like, part of it was when he did this, it kind of shifted the strategy. So I was still stuck in the old mode. And I was playing a couple of months behind. But he's tweaked it and made it that much more better. I'm like, wow, how could he have done that? And he's tweaked a few strategies. Cards, we're still looking at a few other things, but he just keeps making this thing better and better and better, and it just has me drooling. Look, I've got the Vassal module. I've got my playtest copy, but I want one in the box, on my shelf. I want it on my table. I want just pretty.
You got
game.
any inside info on when it's ships?
The Kickstarter, I believe they said at BGG-Con was going to be in February.
Uh-oh.
I haven't heard anything since. But
back to 2017.
but
hopefully they trigger it. All right.
Anyway, so yeah, still my number one. Adore that game. Hands in the Sea, Nightworks, putting it out.
All right.
All right. That's it.
Thanks, guys. There you go. Hopefully something on my list triggers off this year, or at least 2014's list.
That's right.
HAMTAG.
HAMTAG. We're out of here.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.